In the United States, 2024 has not been a great year for new roller coasters. And with some recent news out of Six Flags, it's not getting any better. I found 14 coasters that were scheduled to or have already opened in the US for 2024, the first of which, going in alphabetical order, is All American Triple Loop at Indiana Beach. Despite the fact that it's a relocation, this ride on paper looks really solid. 3,379 feet of track, a height of 108 feet, a speed of 53 miles an hour, and those 3 vertical loops with a top G-force of 6.1. This is a forceful Schwarzkopf looper. Despite the good numbers and the good reputation that its manufacturer has, this ride has not been well received, and many say it's a very painful ride experience. From what I hear, this coaster hasn't been garnering huge lines either, so in general, I'm going to say that this coaster is not a success. Moving on from here, we have Bobcat at Six Flags Great Escape. Unfortunately, they did have to remove an old coaster to put this in, but it was the park's first new coaster in 19 years, so they're definitely long overdue, and this looks like a great coaster from the Gravity Group. Its stats aren't particularly impressive, but it's not supposed to be. There's a lot of good moments of airtime and fast pacing. Just because this park got a new coaster, I think it's a success, but it also seems to be a really enjoyable ride and enjoyed by many different types of people, whether they're coaster enthusiasts or general public. It's an approachable ride that can please all. I'm comfortable calling this a success. Fire in the Hole is a refurbishment of the old Fire in the Hole at Silver Dollar City. The new version was done by Rocky Mountain Construction, and it's really more of a dark ride than a coaster. I absolutely love what they did here, and I love how they stuck to the original ride. Disney could learn something from that. Overall, this is a success. Now we get to the 2 Six Flags coasters, Flash Vertical Velocity at Six Flags Great Adventure and Georgia Surfer at Six Flags Over Georgia. It was recently announced that both of these coasters are going to be delayed until the 2025 season in classic Six Flags fashion. This is definitely unfortunate for both parks and both coasters, but in particular for Six Flags Great Adventure, what a blunder. This coaster was supposed to open in 2024 because Six Flags Great Adventure opened in 1974. It's their 50th anniversary. This coaster would have been a very worthy ride to celebrate 50 years, but unfortunately, it's gonna have to wait until the 51st anniversary. It's a bummer, no doubt, but it's also a bummer because we've seen this again and again with Six Flags. Hopefully, the new Six Flags chain that's merged with Cedar Fair won't have this problem nearly as often. Let's move on to one of my favorite new for 2024 coasters, Good Gravy at Holiday World. And of course, this is not the best new for 2024 coaster, but it may be the most creative. I love the Thanksgiving style theming, and this was a perfect addition to Holiday World. They really needed a family coaster like this. By all accounts, this is a success. Now we get to Mattel Adventure Park in Glendale, Arizona, where Hot Wheels Bone Shaker Ultimate Ride and Hot Wheels Twin Mill Racer are still scheduled to open for 2024. These rides are built by Chance, and while Chance hasn't made a ton of roller coasters, I'm very curious to see how their second Hyper GTX model works out, in particular because it's so different from Lightning Run at Kentucky Kingdom. There is a ton of potential with this park and these coasters, but the question is, can they get them open by the end of 2024? Next up is Iron Menace at Dorney Park, the B&M dive coaster that ended a coaster drought for Dorney Park. Like Great Escape, they were long overdue for a new roller coaster. A B&M dive of this scale isn't the best coaster in the world, but it does have some nice elements and 4 inversions. That said, I have heard some concerning things regarding the smoothness of Iron Menace. Which, first of all, this is a brand new B&M. There shouldn't be any questions regarding its smoothness, but apparently it's a real problem. Iron Menace has a rattle and a bad transition towards the end. Reception among coaster enthusiasts has been decent at best. I think this coaster can still be a success if they fix that one part of the ride, but until then, I don't think it can be as successful as they would have wanted it to be. Also, I hear that the water park is still the main draw, and that even on a busy day, this coaster doesn't necessarily have a huge wait, so that's interesting to monitor as well. From here, we have Midnight Flyer at Santa's Village. This is a family coaster edition, and a great one for a park of this scale. It's a cloned layout and a Vekoma family coaster, but it works so well for a family park like Santa's Village, it's a success. Now for a couple SeaWorld coasters. Penguin Trek opened at SeaWorld Orlando. This is the world's first B&M launched family coaster. This looks to be a pretty mild ride, and the highlight might honestly be the detailed dark ride section before the first launch. B&M is so interesting right now. They've been experimenting a lot the last couple of years with new tricks on some of their old models and experimenting with new models. This is a nice family coaster, but I can't help but think if Vekoma had gotten this project, the end product would have been a bit better. Still, I'm willing to say it's a success. The same can be said for another B&M. This is Phoenix Rising at Busch Gardens, Tampa, the first family invert we've seen from the company in North America. This doesn't look bad. In fact, it looks pretty good, but I have a lot of the same thoughts about this coaster as Penguin Trek. I still think Vekoma would do a better job, just as an example. But I think it's a fine addition, and it doesn't seem to be having any huge issues, which, as we'll talk about in a few minutes, is something to be appreciated. Next up is Snoopy's Soapbox Racers at Kings Island. Now here's a Vekoma, but a different layout than Good Gravy, though they're both family boomerangs. I think this is a fine addition. This family coaster is a bit different than some of the other ones at the park, and while capacity could be an issue, otherwise I think it's great. This is a success. Now we have Snoopy's Tender Paw Twister Coaster at Knott's Berry Farm, the park's new kids coaster. There's not much to talk about here. It is a clone of Daddy Pig Coaster at Peppa Pig Theme Park. This is a success because it's definitely better than the park's old kids coaster, Timberline Twister. I rode that a couple years ago, and it wasn't exactly the most comfortable experience. Now, at last, we have Top Thrill 2. Don't worry, I didn't forget about Top Thrill 2 this time. This is the biggest coaster edition in the United States for the 2024 season, even though, really, it's a refurbishment more than a new edition. Cedar Point worked with Zamperla to turn their old Intamin Stratocoaster Top Thrill Dragster into Top Thrill 2. They added a swing launch sequence and a 400-foot vertical spike. Those that have ridden it really enjoyed it, and many said that it was better than the old Top Thrill Dragster. But unfortunately, not too many people have had the opportunity to ride it. It's been closed for 2 months, and as of now, I don't think we know when it's going to reopen. This is worrisome, and it makes you wonder if Zamperla was really up for the challenge. They'd never done anything even close to this scale, and now they're having issues. Is it Zamperla's fault? I don't know. I'm not going to blame him here, but it is possible. I would love to say that Top Thrill 2 has been a resounding success, and while I know year 1 for new coasters is always a bit up and down, it has been a rough year for Top Thrill 2, and so I can't say that quite yet. I'll give him time, but the issues definitely make you worry. So those are the 15 coasters. Now let's break them down a bit. Of those 15, 9 are meant for families and 6 are meant for thrill seekers. Of those 15, 4 have not opened for 2024, with 2 of those for sure being delayed until next year. Of the 3 thrill coasters that have actually opened, one bangs your head side to side, the second has been closed for 2 months, and the third is decent at best. Of the 9 family coasters, all of them seem to be successful to some degree. The family coaster crop in 2024 here in America has been really good. But the thrill coasters have just been disappointing. As of right now, the best one that's open is Iron Menace, which is a mid-size B&M dive. So while 2024 might be a bit disappointing for thrill coasters, 2025 has a lot to look forward to. The 2 coasters from Six Flags we mentioned today, Circuit Breaker at Codaland, Palindrome at Codaland, Rapterra at King's Dominion, all the coasters at Epic Universe, just to name a few, there's a lot to look forward to. So despair not, coaster fans. While there may not have been the best crop in 2024, we can look forward to 2025.